Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How are you all doing? Big breaking news, Marcus Rashford has confirmed that he will be leaving Manchester United. This is just breaking just now. He's done an interview with Henry Winters. He has basically all but said, he's pretty much confirmed that he is leaving Manchester United, and the stories that we have been getting in the past couple days are 100% true. And it seems like the club has put him up for sale. That's my opinion on it, for the reason for him coming out and basically saying that he is going to leave Manchester United. I don't think he would come out and make these statements if the club hasn't made him aware that they are going to move him on and look to move him on. So we're going to get through the statements. We're going to give our opinions. We're going to get through a lot of stuff. There's also Diallo is on the brink of getting a new contract, so we're going to break that down as well. We're going to cover all the other breaking Manchester United news as well. Before we do, please smash the like button because it helps the channel massively. So if you want to help us out, please smash the like button for us. It helps the channel grow and helps us get seen more. And if you're new and you enjoy the content, you enjoy the community, then join, become a subscriber, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We go live on a weekly basis, and that's pretty much it. But as you can see up on the screen here next to me, this is a piece from the Henry Winter interview, and I just want to start off by saying, for those of you that might not be familiar with Henry Winter, if you think back, I think it was months ago, somewhere around last season, this person, Henry Winter, who has been in around, Manchester United journalist and stuff for numerous amounts of years. He's very close to Rashford. He was on the United stand at one point. He gave an interview or talked with Mark Goldbridge, and he gave his perspective on Marcus Rashford. And it's evident that Marcus Rashford has gone to Henry Winter to give this side of his story and his piece. So that's that little connection there. But as the excerpt starts off by saying, it says, "I think I'm ready for a new challenge. The day I leave, there will be no hard feelings. I won't make any negative comments about Manchester United. I've seen how other players have left in the past, and I don't want to be that person." So, Rashford has admitted that he is going to leave, and I think that's going to come fairly soon. I think we can all pretty much speculate and pretty much fairly say that it can come as early as January. Now that he's been officially pretty much transfer listed and he's coming out and confirming it, clubs are going to be on high alert that it is an official thing, and maybe some more interest drums up for him. It's January. They might try and do a cut deal price. But the chat is here. And welcome to all our chat members. Richard is in here. Lyle is in here. And Grace is in here. Richard has started off by saying, "Bye, Marcus. Thanks for everything you've done. And my 3 double vodkas in the pint." Grace said, "I called my neighbor. He's a taxi driver. I will see Rashford to the airport." Yes, we are a duality of a community here. Some of us are going to be sad that Rashford's leaving. Some of us, like Grace, is going to be happy that Rashford is leaving. She's already shouting PR, PR, PR about Marcus Rashford. Well, it is PR, right? PR is always PR. It's there. There's positive PR. There's negative PR. He is doing public relations, right? He's done an interview. That's what PR is. Rashford to all shit he had in Saudi. Grace, behave yourself. I know you're excited by this. Behave yourself, though. Behave yourself. But the follow-up to this that I want to get to is Rashford. This is basically all of Marcus Rashford's words. So Rashford said, "It's disappointing to be left out of the derby. Excuse my American. But it happened. We won the game, so let's move on. It's disappointing, but I'm also someone who, as I got older, can deal with these sort of things. What am I going to do? Sit back and cry, or do my best the next time I'm available?" And I think there's an argument there because You know, in my opinion, Marcus, listen, I liked you for a very long time. You haven't been good enough for the past 2 seasons. I wish it didn't have to come to this, because I always wanted you to retire at the club or get, you know, basically to the last couple years of your age as a footballer, and then maybe you could leave. But have a full career and a wonderful career at Manchester United, and it's been one of large inconsistency. You've been brilliant a season here and there, and you've been really, really bad a season here and there. And I would argue to Marcus Rashford here. Those are all great words and stuff like that. And obviously, I think anybody could tell that you would obviously be disappointed to be left out of the derby. Who wouldn't be, right? But the point where you say, you know, what am I going to do? Sit back and cry. I mean, that's what it seems like you've been doing for I don't know how many months now. You know, especially the most recent example was the match before Arsenal, where you scored 2 goals, and then you were on the bench for the Arsenal game, and you were put on as a sub, and you looked like you couldn't be asked, like, because you didn't start and you felt like you deserved to start because you scored 2 goals, and the fact that you didn't start, you just didn't want to give us your all on the pitch, and you played really bad and you had a bad impact in that game. And that's just the most recent example. There's many examples of this. So, you know, I would argue that against Rashford, and I would have pushed back on that if I was doing an interview with him and he said this statement to me. But obviously, this is there's no pushback. It's just Marcus putting out words and Henry Winter releasing them to the Manchester United and the public. So Lyle is saying he hates this. He said Marcus is one of our own, but he needs to leave for his own good. The passion for United is gone, and a new challenge might be good for him. And I agree with Lyle, like 10,000%. He basically stole the words right out of my brain, because he is one of our own. That's why I feel sort of sad. I understand that there are some people that are going to be happy and excited because they've wanted him sold. They've thought he's not good enough, and they would have liked to seen him move on. And that's fair enough. You know, he hasn't been good enough, and you know, Lyle mentions that and he points that out. And he needs to leave for his own good. But it's not just for his own good either, Lyle. It's for our own good as well. We've talked about this many times. We've talked about this dynamic many times. You know, the relationship between United and Rashford has really soured from all aspects, between the club, himself, and the fans. Those 3 aspects has soured. And continuing down that path is doing no good for him. It's doing no good for the club, and it's doing no good for the fans. It's in best interest of all parties that we go separate ways. He gets a new start somewhere else. We get a different pathway, and we get a different, you know, sort of start with somebody else coming in, and basically sort of a new era. And that's how it needs to be. You know, and I agree with Lyle as well, where he said, you know, the passion for United is gone. And I think that's why we kind of see these really bad performances. And that's why we kind of see his body language looks a bit off. His attitude on the pitch doesn't look right. And I think it's because that passion has left him quite some time ago. And I think he was really mulling it over. But I think now it's kind of been brought to his doorstep, and I think he's accepted it. Because I do think that the club has informed him that they've made the decision that they are going to look to sell him, and I think he's accepted that, and he's like, you know what, I really wanted to kind of move on, but I was reluctant to do so. But if you guys are done with me, then I guess I'm gonna go as well. So we initiated the breakup. I believe. I think the club initiated the breakup. It's very similar to a relationship. There's so many identicals. Richard saying, I think in all honesty, this is the best for Marcus and the club. And I agree with you guys. I do. I think this has to happen. And whether you feel happy or sad about it, I think it has to happen. I'm a little bit sad, but I understand it and it makes sense. And I'm here for it and I support it. And I think it's the correct decision. And I think it's the correct move for all parties. So, you know, it has to happen. Grace saying she's got a reason to get smashed tonight. Aventino is in here saying, yo, I'm gonna miss Rashi. Well, I think we're gonna miss Rashi. Something weird that the United fan base usually does is, you know, when the player's here and, you know, it's in that moment of frustration, we sort of can't stand the player being at the club. Once the player goes from the club, you know, a couple years later down the line, revisionism starts happening. Everybody forgets kind of the negative feelings they had, and they start doing this whole reminiscing type of thing. And they only remember like sort of the good moments, right? And people bring up and they're like, we shouldn't have let him go, but people forget like the bad moments, and they remember the good moments because people don't like negativity, so they don't want to remember the negativity. They remember the nice moments that Marcus Rashford bring to Manchester United and to the club and to them as well. So, Gray's saying he don't want to fight for his place. He thinks he deserves to be number one no matter what. Well, maybe that's part of it as well, Grace. But I do believe that the club has told him or has made him aware that he is being put for sale. So I think that's why he's sort of accepted it as well, because I think he looks at that as, well, if you're putting me up for sale, I really don't have anything to fight for. You guys don't want me, so what am I really gonna fight for? I'm fighting for something where I'm not wanted anymore. And the club is making that clear that I'm not wanted anymore. So, you know, what am I gonna fight for? Which leads me to believe that they are going to do this deal in January, because if he is this bad, prior to this decision being sort of made, I worry how bad he could actually be if he was to stay past January, because then we're having a player that knows he has absolutely no future. He knows the club wants to move him on. And he's basically on borrowed time. Now, that's going to happen for the next 2-3 weeks or so, you know, maybe a month or so, because we have to enter the January window, and it opens in about 18 days or so. So we have to wait for that to happen, but we can actually work on the deal now and get it done, you know, fairly early into the January. We don't have to wait for the window to actually open. The only thing that the window being open is for it to be actually confirmed and for him to actually move. But you can start working on the deal now and start getting it done, so that way it doesn't take longer than 2 weeks into January, which I think Ineos and Omar and etc. are doing such things. Stephanie's saying, and Stephanie's here, our other wonderful moderator. Glad you could join us, Stephanie. Saying Marcus is on basic wage of £19.5 million a year at United. That's $375K times 52 weeks. Value for money, no way. Well, that is the thing, right? He is clearly overpaid. He should have never gotten that wage. He should have never been given that wage. Again, that was another stupid, dumb decision and mistake made by the Glazers, Richard Arnold and co. They have, you know, the biggest history of stuff like that, and they screwed the pooch on that one, like many other things that they've done. So, you know, he clearly was never worth that. I don't think most players are even worth that. I mean, you're talking about somebody that has to be like Ronaldo or Messi. And if you're not that, you shouldn't be getting that wage or higher. You know, and it's not value for money. Now, the only thing that helps us in this situation is that he is an academy player. So when we do sell him, it's pure profit. So we can afford to take a little bit of a cut price on the value, on the transfer value, so that we can actually move him on, and then that way there won't be also problems with his wage. Now, he is accepting to leave, so he might be willing to also, and maybe has already accepted that he's going to have to take some type of a pay cut, because I don't think any team, regardless of who it is either they're going to be able to give him that wage that he has now, or want to give him that wage that he is now. So I think that he has accepted that. So far right now, it seems pretty good in terms of for the club. It seems like, we had this discussion yesterday that what if he doesn't want to leave? What if he holds out? What if he just decides to sit? We can't necessarily force him out because he's under contract, but if he's willing to go, which he's saying he is, and he's already accepted that he's going to leave, then we kind of avoided that whole problem, which is good. Obviously, we have to wait and see how things develop over the next couple weeks or so, but it seems like we might avert that whole crisis, which is very, very good. Lyle saying agreed, good for the club as well, for sure. Sorry, chat. I hate when this thing skips all over the place. Gray saying Rashford sell to PSG for prawn cocktail Pringles and and a Wicked Blue. No, you're being a little bit too mean, Grace. You're being too mean, Grace. Stop it. Aventino said we lost Greenwood, Sancho, and now Rashford. This attacking is arguably top tier when in form. Rashford out of form, but I still think he is one of the best. I just dislike the overwhelming toxicity. Well, you make a good point. And that was something that I wanted to talk about as well. Like, I am sad about this situation. I understand the situation. I accept it, and I think it's the correct thing to do. And I'm here. I'm backing it, right? But I think one of the good things that's also going to come out of this is there will no longer be this Marcus Rashford distraction discussion, the toxicity that has surrounded him and this topic of him being a problem at the club. This will cease to exist because he is no longer going to be here, which hopefully it is a positive for the club, because we can start focusing more as a team aspect instead of individuals. I think Bruno is still one that is heavily individualized. And there's one or two. There's not many, but there's a couple. And Marcus Rashford, has been one of the biggest ones. And I think one of the positives to come out of this is that this will no longer be a talking point in the fan base, and everybody can move on and move past and start focusing on different things, which I think is a positive. And kind of a blessing in disguise, because to be honest, I've been getting really sick and tired of the Marcus Rashford shows. It was almost like every other week something happens, he does something, he's in the papers, he's in the press, people are, just their entire focus is solely on Marcus Rashford when we have a club, when we have a team, and there's team issues and nobody's looking at the team aspect because they're so focused on one player. And now that he's going, that's removing a big chunk out of that, so that's good. Gray's saying 2 good seasons in 9. Enough said. Well, I don't think it was just 2 good seasons. The 2 seasons ago was an excellent season. I think it was his best season. He had the other good season. I think when he was coming up, he had some decently good seasons for a player that just, came from the youth team and was finding his way. So, in time periods, we want top wingers, not top wingers. No, yes, but we do need top wingers, for sure. Richard saying it's time to forget about people who have branded themselves special and build new legends at our club. And I think that's an excellent point, Richard. I've been talking about Ruben Amorim, and you guys know, because you hear every show and every week with me. But how long have I been saying that, we are a unit, we are a team. We need to focus on these things. We need to build a proper foundation if we're going to ever be successful, if we're ever going to have something concrete, that has to come with a group of players that have a similar mentality where it's not about them, it's about the club, it's about the team, and they that translates on the pitch. They play in that manner. And I think Marcus Rashford somewhere along the way lost his way with that, and it was really more about him than it was really about the club. Now he'll say otherwise, of course he will. Um, but from what we see on the pitch and sort of his actions on the pitch, and that's what I judge him on. And others will bring in the whole brand stuff, the PR stuff, the off the field stuff, and you can bring that in if you want, but I don't even think you have to go that far. I think you can just you can get the full story from just the pitch, and he isn't that player that we need. We're trying to go in a new direction, a new era. We're trying to build a new um type of chemistry and a new mentality. And I don't think you can do that with somebody like Marcus Rashford, because I think he's been set in his ways for quite some time now, and I don't think it's gonna change. So, I said this the other day, and you look at Ahmad, and he's 23, so he's 4 years younger than Rashford, but the way he conducts himself, and what he's already kind of been through in terms of almost not making it at United, being sent out on loan, continuing to fight, having that determination, sort of being this quiet guy. When he comes and he plays for us now, he attacks brilliantly, but he also does the defending aspect brilliantly. He is a full team player with talent. And that's what we need. We need team players. It's something we haven't had since Ferguson. We haven't had team players. When Ferguson was there, we had team players. We had stars, but they were team players. Even Ronaldo, who was selfish at times, but he understood that he had to be a team player more so than less so, because Ferguson demanded it. So, these things are important, and this is what we need to build, and this is why I believe in Ruben Amorim, because since the moment he's come, he's said these things that we were talking about 8 months ago, 9 months ago, 10 months ago. We were talking about these very things. And he's come in and he's said the same exact things we've been talking about. And this is why I believe in this guy, because I think that is the correct way we are going to succeed. And he believes in these things, and he's following through on these things, and he's refusing to budge. He truly does believe in this, and he's not going to alter anything because he of his fear to fail. He's determined to do the right things at Manchester United. Grace saying she wouldn't play him again. Well, maybe he doesn't necessarily play. Or maybe he sits on the bench. Again, maybe it's up to him as well. I mean, if he goes into training and he has a good attitude and he's doing all right in training, and he's not just like pissing about, maybe Amorim will include him in the squad, because it's not necessarily a problem. But if he's showing up to training and he's half-assing it and he don't really care, then I wouldn't expect to see him in there. It's going to be interesting to see the squad versus Tottenham, to see if he gets back in there. Him and Garnacho. I'm kind of expecting Garnacho to come back in, but we have to wait and see. Grace saying that he can clean Hoyland's boots. Grace is ruthless. Grace is ruthless. There's no getting around Grace. Aventino saying we should play him now and let him get some goals in to ask for more than 40 mil, which is laughable. Well, I mean, is it really laughable though, Aventino? Because he's been really, really poor, and this is his second season of being really poor, and he's had an off-field issue, and his wages are really high. So I understand maybe you might think that his value should be higher, or you would like us to, get more money from the sale. But I think in the reality of the situation, I think 40 million is probably a fair price for the current situation when you factor in all those things. Um, I mean, there was talk about the fact that they wanted, or they were kind of open to selling him in the summer. They didn't receive any offers, so they didn't really talk about it. They kept it to themselves. Like, they were open to selling him. We got those reports. We discussed them. I remember them. But no club actually came in for him, and therefore they didn't sell him. And part of that problem is that he has very high wages, and we were asking for a good amount of money, and nobody wanted to put that bid in, and nothing has really changed. I mean, he's not having a great season. He's having a bad season. He's still in the same amount of wages. And if I was another club, I'd be more concerned in the fact that, this is 2 seasons in a row that he's having a very bad season, and he's 27 years old. You know, so I would be weary of that stuff. Stephanie says, question for me. She says, speaking about people that want to play for us and love the fans, do you think Ahmad has the potential to be our Mo Salah? Well, I think I don't like to compare players to other players because I try to view them as their own player. But I get what you mean in terms of, kind of being like our version of a Mo Salah. I don't know ability-wise if he'll match Mo Salah, right? But I think Ahmad has the ability, and I think he has the ability to be a very, very good player for us, and an important player. And right now he's doing everything that he needs to be doing, and he's our best attacking player. Right now he's been the catalyst of our team. He's 23 years old. Some players are a little bit of a late bloomer. Like, Amad Diallo was not Lamine Yamal at, 19, 18 years of age, or 17, whatever Lamine Yamal is. It took him a little bit to start performing like this. And, I think he does, though. I think he can be a very successful player for us. I don't know how good he can be, because I think he has high potential, but you never know what potential. Will he hit the high of his highs, or will he, fall a little bit short? I think that always goes on them, and circumstances that surround them. Can he stay injury free? Can he, will he sustain some very bad injury that hampers his progression? These are things that we don't know are going to happen, but I think he has the right attitude right now. I think he has the right attitude. I think he has the right mentality. And I think when he goes on the pitch, I think he does the right things. And I think he is sort of this team player. You see that. Like, I get this feeling from when I watch Amad Diallo, like he just goes on the pitch and he just wants to do whatever he can to help the team win, because he wants the team to, like, he genuinely wants the team to win. It's the team winning is more important to him than anything else. It's not about Amad Diallo doesn't go on the pitch and go, it's all like, it's not in his head. You can tell by the way he plays. It's not in his head when he's on the pitch and he's like, I got to do something. I got to make my impact. I got to show that I'm great and I'm this. He just goes on there and does his job. And he does it brilliantly. He's doing it brilliantly right now. And I hope it continues. But you could tell in the way, in the manner he plays, because for you to be a winger, and I, as a former winger, I know, you absolutely want to do the attacking part of the game all game, especially if you're in a match where you're feeling confident and you can beat the opposition's defense. You want the ball as much as possible in your feet. What wingers don't want to do is do the defensive part, the tracking back part, especially if you're taking the ball up and you're attacking and you lose the ball, and now you got to sprint back, 80, 70 yards to go do the defensive work. And you don't necessarily want to do that, but he does it because he understands that it helps the team, and he understands it helps his teammates, and that he's got to do it, and so he does it, and he does it well as well. So, Grace says Anthony over Almond. Grace is just taking the piss now. Chiquinya Ata, ooh, Utara, if I pronounce your name wrong, I'm sorry. Amorim has tested him, and he has now failed. He is not ready to fight. He wants to be seen as a superstar. That's his place cemented in the starting lineup. Well, I think you're right as well, and I don't know if you're, I don't know if you're Portuguese or not. I don't know if you're, Sporting fan or what. But I do agree with that, because my friend that is the Sporting fan, he told me that this would happen. Not specifically about Marcus Rashford, but he just said in general to players. And I think that's also something similar that's happened. Like, and I think you're right. Like, he isn't up to the fight. I think he's tired of trying to fight and prove managers. And he's clearly fallen down the pecking order, right? And he's clearly not in the number one spot right now in Amorim. And I think part of him is also just giving up, because he's tired of trying to prove managers. I think also part of it's his mentality, where he believes that he's good enough to be the main guy, to be the starting guy. And so he's kind of just been like, you know what, I'll just go somewhere else where I can be this guy without even having to necessarily prove myself. Like, they will just do it because I am me. Message delete. I don't know the message you deleted, Grace. If it was bad, appreciate it. I missed that. Lines is here, says, hey, that was a fast week, but we'll talk. I'll tell you guys about that at the end. So, Line, big up yourself though. When Rashford leaves, who am I going to bully? Diego Dalot. You could bully him. Like Lyle said, you could bully Dalot. Chiquinya said Mason Greenwood is a better overall player than Rashford. Losing him was more painful. Well, maybe because the way that it happened, that it was like, idiocy on his part, and what he did, and from the football aspect, you feel like you kind of got robbed, right? Because he was growing, and it was kind of just ripped away from a thing that had nothing to do with the football side. And maybe he was a better talent than Marcus Rashford, but like Stephanie says, team ethic over player favorites, and then team ethic over individualism. Ruben Amorim said this in one of his first interviews, that I will analyze these players and basically everything they do, and if I see a player doing things for himself and not for the team, then you will not be part of this team and you will not play. And maybe you can allude that to Rashford. I think that's certainly the reason as to why Rashford and Garnacho were both dropped from the squad for the derby. Both play particularly selfish on the pitch. Both make really bad decisions on the pitch. They hold the ball too long, they lose the ball too often. And I don't think they necessarily are working hard enough for the team, while other players are. And we talked about this yesterday, and we said, we all thought Anthony was pretty much done and finished. And now there's a question mark over that, because it's like, well, if you judge off of what Amorim says and what Amorim wants and what Amorim holds true and thinks is the best course of action, while Anthony is lacking in skill in areas, what he does have is aggressiveness, and he has fight, and he has heart, and he will, and you can put him on the pitch and he will fight. And I think what Amorim is doing right now is looking, and he's like, Rashford has more talent than Anthony, but Rashford isn't giving me the same fight and heart and desire as Anthony is. I can actually use Anthony And that sort of stuff can be helpful, even though he's lacking in ability compared to Rashford. Where he's looking at Rashford and he's like, first of all, you're out of form, even if you do have better ability than Anthony, but you're out of form, and you also are not a team player in the aspect that I would like. So you are somebody that I actually can't work with, and I actually can't progress with you in this team aspect. Whereas Anthony, I can actually use him. So, this dynamic is very interesting, and it's gonna be interesting because we all pretty much said Anthony is done, and maybe he's not done because maybe Amorim wants to keep him. I still think that at least for the time being, Rashford's gonna go before Anthony. I don't think anybody predicted that. I don't think anybody guessed that that was going to happen. So, I think it's we got to wait and see, but I think maybe it's in an order of certain things. Like maybe Anthony will end up going at some point, but maybe it's just not right now because Amorim has deemed that, well, I can use this guy for now. But this guy, I can't use him. He's not helping himself. So therefore he can't help me and he can't help the team. You know, Lion says, we are a unit, we are a team, we are a legion. What Lion's always coming in here with film references that I have no clue what films he's watching, shows. We don't watch the same shows, we don't watch the same movies, but I'm here for it. But I never get them because I have no clue what he watches. I lost my spot here. Lyle saying, man, I was really rooting for Rashford when he hit the 100 goals for us. I thought he was just gonna become the nest we have seen, but the best we have seen. But damn it, well, it is what it is, Grace says Welbeck is better. Grace is absolutely on one. Grace, how much wine have you had today in celebration? Because I know you definitely had at least a half a bottle by now. Since the news is broke, for sure. Aventino says Garnacho is a favorite of mine, but this guy is not a team player as of late. He may go too. Well, that's where I do agree with you, Aventino. Garnacho is one of my favorites as well. I like Garnacho very much. I think he has good ability. And I think he can be an important player for us. And he has a long career ahead of him. He has about another, 10 years, at least 10 seasons. The thing is, you are absolutely correct though. He is not a team player. He's still too naively selfish. The only thing that I think is saving Garnacho is the fact that he's 20, and the fact that he's 20 and he's still very young. I think there's something that you can work with there and try to remove that selfishness out of him. I think there's also an understanding that, when you compare a player that's 20 to somebody that's 27, the 27 should understand, and should be already, developed in terms of being too selfish and stuff like that. He's still a fairly young guy, even though he has a kid as well. But, you could tell like he has a little bit more maturing that he needs to do in certain aspects, and I think they are aware of that as well. So I think that's one aspect that they do understand, that like while he is not that team player that we've been talking about, he might mature into it, but we have to guide him along the way. And I think that was one of the things. So I'm interested to see what happens with Garnacho, because I kind of feel like, for Rashford, it was kind of like an end of the line. But I think for Garnacho, it was more of like a smack in the face, kind of like a wake-up call. Kind of like, hey, you haven't made it here yet. You are not the king. Get your shit together. Stop messing around. Get focused and join the rest of us. Oh, Lions was playing Mass Effect. Well, I played that game. That was a great game. Richard says 4 windows from now, you will see the Amorim team, and I expect to see a lot of younger players. Well, I think we'll see it in about 2, Richard. Well, 4 windows altogether, or If you're talking about January and summer, then I agree. 4 windows. I think 2 summer windows. Um, we will see. And I think one of the things that we're going to see as well, Richard, which is going to be good, is because my father was saying this again the other day. Because my father's big on the youth, right? He's big on the youth. He wants the youth, um, especially when we got first team players, maybe like a Rashford or something that haven't been up to the thing. My father always wants them to bring up some of the youth players and just play them instead. And give them an opportunity or give them some minutes somewhere. And my argument, like I'm always for that as well, but my argument right now to that is when you look at what's going on at the club as of right now, he has come in, he's in a very difficult situation that he has to manage, right? He can't get the training in and all that stuff that everybody knows about, right? We've talked about it a few times already. And I the way I view it is that right now he has to settle the ground base. He has to get the first team, these senior players, he has to get them to do the basics before you can introduce some of these younger players that may not be 100% ready. Maybe because Manu was ready, Garnacho was ready, they were ready and they pushed through. I think some of the other ones we have, they're not necessarily at that spot yet, but you can start to push them in a little bit more and grow them and develop them. But that's difficult to do to the youth when your senior first team players are learning the basics themselves and there's no set foundation. And I always worry about the kids because you don't want to bring the kids into sort of a messy environment. And I think our first team right now is a very messy environment. We're learning as we're going. We're learning in matches. It's a work in progress, and I just don't see it as a good environment to bring in these youth players because there's nothing is settled. Nothing is there to kind of help them and guide them. So I think once we get the basics down, like Amorim has said, and we start doing a little bit more advanced stuff and we're a little bit more stable, and I think what we're also going to see is not only the players that we bring in, but I also think he's going to bring up quite a good amount of the youth and integrate them into the squad. So I think we're going to see a lot more academy players being involved in match day squads and stuff, just solely off of what he's done at Sporting. So I think we can all be excited about that. 8 likes, 11 watching. Yes. Well, I think we have 10 likes now. So smash the like button if you haven't. If you have, thank you. We appreciate that because it helps the channel out. Lion says, I think we will have younger players. The team will be ancient in 4 years. I think we will have to have younger players. No, we're definitely going after younger players. I mean, we signed a player from was it Argentina or something like that? Young player. We're looking at Napalm. He's another young player. So we've been getting these younger players and throwing them into like sort of our academy or our reserves, right? We're also bringing in. I mean, the first window under Ineos, we brung in fairly young players. I don't think anybody was over how old is Maz? Nobody was that old. I think Maz was the oldest. Everybody else was younger. So I think I think we are getting these younger players. Plus, like how I just mentioned, we're gonna get into the integration of the youth players as well. I think once the foundation is settled and we're a settled team and we're more consistent and we're not so like all over the place, I think we'll start seeing the introduction of a lot of our youth players. Grace says, "Oi, little muggles, hit the like button or jog on." I'm behind in the chat, so Stephanie has updated, said 10 likes. Yes, I was behind. Rashford has been here for 10 seasons, and of that 10 seasons, he's never scored 20 Premier League goals in any of them. Says Max Juan. Well, all right. Well, good point. That's interesting. I didn't even know that. So he's never scored 20, and not even in a single season. Not even in the 20 Premier League goals. Not even. So what do you get those? What do you get 2 seasons ago? What was that? Rashford has 17 league goals twice, average 8 goals. Most of the seasons and 4 goals at his worst. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, he was never this. He was never like an elite player, right? He was never an elite in the world of football, an elite player, clearly, because um, yeah, he's had 17 league goals only twice. He averages about 8 goals most of the seasons, and at his worst, he's had 4 goals. So, but his career was always on and off anyway. Steph saying, would anyone else in our team slash squad scored that winner versus GT? I think not. Probably not. To be honest, not in that manner, not in the way that he did it, not in the way that he scored that goal. Could somebody else have scored a winner? I think there's maybe 2 or 3, yeah, but the way he did it, the way he he extended his leg, poked it with his toe up and over, and then the finish, that all of that was very, very hard. And I don't think really anybody could do that in our squad, as of right now, in the way that he did it. So, Lyle says only Ahmad could do what Ahmad did, and there you go. That's what it is. Richard says no point in talking about players we have got rid of and who don't want to give 100%. Do we think Rashi will play on Thursday? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'm not 100% sure. So, I've been impressed with his last 2 sub appearances. Anthony is a team player. He is. He is, because he listen. He lacks ability. I think we all agree on that, right? But what he does is that he actually comes on the pitch and at least he tries. He gives you. He fights you. And I know some people would say, well, like, how far have the standards fallen? I mean, they've fallen some pretty damn far. I mean, look at what we've been for 12 years. You know what I mean? So obviously, as traditional Manchester United fans, and we said the same thing about Scott McTominay, passion and heart and, this stuff, that's not good enough. But I think when you're when you're in square one and you're building a foundation, you can at least use that. I think there has to be a plan to move on from that at some point, because I'm not saying that Anthony needs to stay solely for that. But I think in the current situation, right now, in this moment, you pick the player that at least fights for the team and plays for the team over a player that might have some more ability, but doesn't fight for the team. Grace says she can do what Alma does. I highly doubt that. Rajat says, go get food. I'm not hungry yet. Grace says, look, if I had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything I ever wanted in one moment, would I capture it or let it slip? All right, Slim Sheridan. Take it easy there, Slim Sheridan. Garno out on loan, perhaps. No, I don't think they'll loan him. I don't think they'll loan him. I don't think there's a need to loan Garnacho, because I think Amorim likes to play people his age anyway. I just think that Garnacho needs to understand in his head, and he needs to listen to the manager, and he really needs to get on board, and he needs to understand, like, he needs to evaluate himself, and he needs to evaluate his game and be like, listen, I'm taking it a little bit too far with the individualism. Nobody's trying to take away with the fact that, like, we get it, you're trying to, do something for the team, but you're hurting the team at the same time because you're doing too much, and you need to trust your teammates more, and you need to look for your teammates more, and you need to work on your decision making when it comes to the moment you pick to be selfish, and the moment of when you know that you need to find your teammate or look for your teammate. You can't just always it can't always just be you. Um you have to pick and choose those moments on the pitch. But sometimes I think that comes with time anyway. So just maturing a little bit. Uh I don't think I don't drink. I'm not a bloody alcoholic like you all think I am. I don't know. You were talking about wine last time. Richard says altogether. Richard says, well, your father is right that he is that has always been the United way to bring youth players through. Well, yeah. And I understand that, and I know that. I just think at the current moment, I would make that counter argument is that I just don't think it's the appropriate time because we're in such a mess. When we did it on the Ferguson, it was a good foundation, a good base. There was good, players that they can kind of gravitate to. They can learn from. They can be grounded, kept, in line. I don't think we have that yet, and we're working towards it. So I think that's why that whole aspect has to kind of take a little bit of a back burner till we just solidify ourselves a little bit. The young left back is from Paraguay. Yes. Okay. I said Argentina. Paraguay. Yeah. Diego Leon. Yes, that's who it was. I'm pretty sure we signed him, if I'm not mistaken. I heard somebody say we signed him. I saw some news about that or something like that. So, and then Lyle confirms, says, "Yep, done deal." He can only move when he turns 18, so he will stay in Paraguay until the summer and will move officially then. All right, so very good. Grace saying, I'm not falling for Rashford's PR. He hasn't taken responsibility for not being good enough. If he came out and said, I've been shite, I would respect it. Well, fair enough, fair enough. And he could have probably said something a little bit more along those lines, right? I mean, he's not going to say I've been shite, but he could say that, um, he could have been said, listen, I understand the criticism. I've been really poor. I get it. I haven't been myself. I haven't been my best, but I'm here fighting and I'm trying and I'm not going to give up and I want to continue my career. Somewhere along those lines. Now we have a debate for Eric Amas or Leon as our wide left back. Well, whoever it is, I'm not even totally obsessed with Harry Amos. That whole thing was because we literally had no left back, and it was like just put the damn, like, even if it wasn't Harry Amos, even if it was bloody Brandon Williams and he was still there, and I didn't even like him, I would have been advocating put him on the bench at the very least because we don't have a left back. And we don't have substitutes for the left back and right back. That was my whole thing. I mean, Harry Amos looked very good in preseason. I hope he breaks through at some point. But I just want whoever is the best to take whatever positions they can and come through. Whoever is the best, that's who I want. That's who I want. But we got into a very wonderful discussion. We didn't even go through the rest of these things. So Rashford spoke on the new system, and he said, I have qualities to play in all three positions. Some positions are more natural for me. Others require more training and tactical work. The left side suits me best. I mean, we all knew that. The left number 10 position suits me, but you have to adapt your game. People may not see it, but they will eventually realize that I have played in many different positions under different managers. No, I think we're all quite aware of that, Marcus. You've played striker, you've played left, and you've played right, and they tried to play you, and basically all of them, we play you on the right, doesn't work. We played you at striker, didn't work. We play you on the left, it half works. So, again, he's coming out saying things. It's not like a real interview. There's no pushback. It's just him making quotes. So it is what it is. But let me go to the timeline because there was more stuff that I didn't have time to clip into the show. So, which I wanted to get to. So, let's quick break from the Rashford thing. Amad Diallo, since we were talking about him before, Amad Diallo's contract extension is now imminent. So that is going to happen. There's minor details left to hash out, which is very, very good because I think he's deserved a new contract. We're not going to give him stupid wages. I think that's a thing of the past, thankfully. But he's definitely deserved a bumper, a bump in pay, and he deserves a new contract. And this is how it needs to be going forward at Manchester United. You deserve that contract because of the contributions that you do on the pitch and your work that you do as a footballer. On the training ground, but also on the pitch in match days. And that's how you get rewarded. So, Marcus Rashford was asked about the articles that question his professionalism, and he said, "There are rumors of a lack of professionalism. I do feel misunderstood, but I'm fine with it. I'm a very simple person. I love football. That's been my life from the beginning." I mean, it's hard to argue with that in one aspect because it's his opinion, right? But I mean, there was the Belfast incident, which people are going to question, and people are going to say, well, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't be going out drinking, which obviously leads to a whole nother side of the story because it's like you're not in their shoes, so you can't really say. But, you know, I wouldn't be doing curfew. But you can make the argument that, like, there are players that they don't drink, they don't go out and party, because they take it very, very seriously. There are other players that while they may take it seriously, they're not willing to necessarily give up, going to a club or having a drink here and there, wherever they may be. And then there's two different levels to that. I think it's not so much more of the professionalism outside of the ground. I think the professionalism criticism is with you on the pitch, and the way you kind of handle yourself when you're on the pitch and when certain things aren't going right, when you're out of form, when you're being criticized, when you're not being started and you're coming on as a sub. I think those things are the professionalism that is being questioned of you because your body language looks off, your attitude looks off, you look disinterested on the pitch, and I think that's the professionalism people question. I think there's also that other aspect, like I just mentioned, with the whole clubbing and wearing the clothing that he does and, going to basketball games. But I think that's a whole different story that we don't even need to touch that because it's really just about what he does on the pitch. If Marcus Rashford was scoring 25 goals a season, nobody would give a shit if this guy was wearing a coat that was 3 times his size and it was touching the floor and it was made out of candy. Nobody would care. Nobody would care if he went to a basketball game. And that's because he's performing on the pitch. People get frustrated and upset when they see these things happening and they see the player go on the pitch and play like dog shit. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's not really what they do too much off of the pitch. It's just more the fact of you're not doing it on the pitch. So people are getting on your back for shit that you're doing outside of the pitch. Marcus said, when I leave Manchester United, it's going to be no hard feelings, which was basically him confirming that he is going to leave. And he also said, on leaving Manchester United, you're not going to have any negative comments from me about Manchester United. That's me as a person. If I know that a situation is already bad, I'm not going to make it worse. Well, I at least, Grace, I don't know, what do you make of that comment? Because I actually, if you might think it's just straight up PR, but I actually give him credit for that because we talked about yesterday how he could have potentially made this a much bigger problem. He could have said, "Fuck you, I'm on a contract. I get paid $375K a week. I don't give a shit if you want to sell me. I don't want to go. I'm staying here. You can pay me while I sit on the bench." You can pay me, send me to the U21s, pay me my wage. I'm not leaving. You gave me this contract. He could have done that. He could have done that. He's not doing that. And I give him a little bit of respect for the fact that he understands that the situation is not a positive one between him, the club, and the fans. He's aware of that. Um, and he said, I'm not going to make it worse. And he's essentially saying that I'm pretty much going to go more. I'm going to go quiet, more so or less. I'm not going to try and hold the club to sort of a ransom. I'm not going to create problems and block their pathways of trying to move me on. And I'm ready to go, and they're ready to sell me. And then when I leave, I'll say my goodbye and my thank yous. And that's it. I'm not gonna call out the club in a negative way. I'm not gonna disrespect its name. And I'm not gonna, disrespect the fans in any way by making such a statement or stuff like that. So for that, I'll give him credit for that. Um, Lion says he can see Rashford living and playing in Monaco. I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see where he goes. He didn't followed up that comment by saying, I've seen how other players have left in the past, and I don't want to be that person. When I leave, I'll make a statement, and it will be from me. Which is actually good and mature, from him, and that's at least smart. If anything that he's done, I think that's a really good decision by him. It's smart. Um, and I think it's pretty honest. I don't think there's anything to be, lying about that. I think there have been players that have been previously here that haven't left in the best manner. I think he's seen that. I think he's seen how the fans sort of reacted to that. And I don't think he necessarily wants to be remembered like that. Even if it has come to an end and, he is leaving. I think he still sort of has a respect for the club. Ray says Rashford to Bromley confirmed. Here we go. Rashford to Bromley. Done deal. We've announced this before Fabrizio Romano. Follow us. Subscribe to us. Don't subscribe to Fabrizio Romano. He's absolutely cooked. We're the new guys in town. We have the breaking news. Fabrizio he doesn't even know this has happened yet. But we've confirmed it here first on the channel. Um, no, I'm obviously being a sarcastic prick right now. Don't, don't. I swear to God. But sometimes when I do these things, I just sit here and I think I'm like, I'm really lucky that we don't have like 100,000 people watching us, because at least 1,000 would clip that. They would clip just that part. They would put me on X, and they would only clip that part that would make me look like an absolute prat, and then I would have just a shitstorm on my social media. So, sometimes I think about those things when I look at Goldbridge and he has like about almost 2 million subscribers, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool that you have that thing, but I was like, that must also be some hectic, crazy shit going on in your life. Every day you're getting tagged into things. Your name is being dragged every single day. You're seeing this shit all over social media. I was like, how does his head not explode sometimes? Because I was like, that's a lot to handle. That's a lot to take in. Chris says, yeah, don't be a prick. My bad. It happens sometimes, It happens sometimes. Marcus Rashford, we read this, we read that. Marcus Rashford has said that I treat Manchester United like I treat my family. I mean, there's a video on this. I can't get the whole thing, but I don't know if this is from, I don't know if this is old. This is from now. Because I don't know if he's done a video for this. I don't know if it was a video interview or not. I think this is old though. So everything that followed after this has come out, right? After everything has come out, there was an update that came out from, and now I'm not aware of this source. I haven't seen this source before, but one of the aggregators I follow has posted this as a source. So I guess we go, and a couple of these other aggregators and people that report the news, they follow this person as well. He is a journalist. His name is Frederick A. Uh, Field Fieldfit. I don't know what. I don't know if he's like Norwegian or something like that. But he's come out with a story or post, basically saying Manchester United do not want to comment on whether they knew in advance about Marcus Rashford's interview and statements, nor what they think about the timing. So that's interesting, because he might have done this and it wasn't necessarily sanctioned by the club. He might have not run it by the club. Um, which now throws another wrench into another socket into the wrench, or whatever that bloody saying is. Because if he's just done this without running it by the club or getting confirmation by the club, that's a violation of code of conduct, which means that he probably won't be in the squad. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is a good point, because they haven't commented on whether they knew. I feel like if they did know, they would have just said. I feel like if they knew about it, they would have answered this by saying we were informed and we knew. So I'm kind of feeling like they didn't know that this was coming out, and therefore I think that he might just not play after this. So and this came out 30 minutes ago from Mike Keegan saying Marcus Rashford was sent home sick from training yesterday. Club policy is that those who are unwell should attend Carrington, where they will be assessed by a doctor. Rashford was deemed to have a high temperature and left the complex. So, I mean, I don't, there's going to be a lot of speculation about that, because people are going to say he was sent home because they wanted to send him home and they're doing damage control by saying he had a fever, when he was actually sent home because he was being a prick or something in training, or disruptive or some shit like that. So, Aventino says, Rashford to PSG for 50 million euros with 5 million add-ons, 150k a week. Save this. Well, we will save this. I will save this. I mentally will save it here. And if that happens, Aventino, the next show, you gotta come in here and give me lottery numbers. So that I can play it in the American lottery. And then when we win, I'll give everybody in the chat, a mil or something. Which they have rules against that, but we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. I'll buy a bunch of crypto or something. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell the government. Who's better, Rashford, Dan James, or Alenga? I would say Rashford. High temperature, because he knows he's not going to get 325 a week. Oh my god. Grace is gonna get this channel in trouble one day, I swear to God. She's gonna get us all in trouble one day. Shit is going on with Rashford, but on his day he can still be dynamite. Well, he can be, yeah. He just hasn't been, and he's kind of lost that. So maybe he'll rediscover it when he goes somewhere else. Martial and Rashford were two big hopes in 2020. Many were convinced that they'd take us back to the top at that time, and look how it's ended. So, it's you never know. You just never know how things can go. It looked very promising at that time, and it pretty much ended in disaster. But it's good that we finally have a manager that gets it. He's ruthless, and he has a plan. And he has a real plan, and he stands by his plan. And but he gets it. He gets this club, which I'm excited for. I really am excited about that because I really do feel like I don't know what it is about him, but I just feel like he's literally been watching United for like the past 8 years or something. Like he has been United fan. For him to understand, for him to have this understanding that he has, like I feel like this guy's been like a Manchester United fan like half his life. Um, you know, because like he came in a month ago, um, decided who was good enough, who wasn't. Um, and there's certain players like I know Ronaldo's the exception, but Ronaldo had criticism his whole entire career. And that never stopped him. So, if you are good enough, the criticism certainly isn't going to stop you. If you are supposed to be that elite player, that top player in the world, ain't no criticism ain't going to stop you from being that player. So, um, Rashford and Martial, though, I, 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 I think I still would say Rashford. I mean, Martial was good, but had his moments, but Martial really fell apart with the injuries. So, like, really hard to judge because there was a certain point where he just like he completely broke down. And I mean, like, look what Martial has ended up. Like, I forgot where he's even playing. Like, Rashford ain't going to play there. You know what I mean? Um, Gray says Martial was a better player. Well, I think Martial had at that period. I think Martial had the bigger potential for and to have, and he had a better ability. But I think Martial, the way his career has gone, he fell off very harshly. Um, I think if they both stayed fit and they went neck for neck, I think Martial would have surpassed Rashford. Um, but like they both kind of fell off, but Martial fell off way hard. And Rashford, he's not going to end up where Martial is, and he didn't necessarily have the injury problems either. So, Rashford wouldn't have scored 30 league goals if it wasn't for Martial making space for him. Rashford has never worked with the proper number 9. And then message was retracted. Um, now I don't understand that. Is YouTube doing that? Because I want to know why that happens. Why did Grace's message just get retracted? She literally just did. She literally didn't say, "Oh wait, oh was that you, Grace? Oh, you took your own message away and then you put it back up." Martial is in Greece. Took ages to make his debut because of injuries. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I think Martial definitely had like the better raw ability potential, and I think if they stayed on the same course, and they battled it out, like if Martial was still here and he didn't get all those injuries and they were going neck for neck, I think Martial would have surpassed him. But it just went really bad for both of them. She deleted it. Don't delete your own comments. Leave your mistakes there for everybody to see. Let me see if there's any other news. That we might have missed, maybe. She went home sick. Oh boy, I don't even want to ask this. I don't even know why they're asking this question. So one of the aggregator accounts said, "Do you consider Marcus Rashford to be a Manchester United legend? Yes or no?" I'm gonna tell you no. Um, I think that's literally a dumb question. I don't know why they would ask that. I already know all the responses. I know Grace is about to say something right now. About that. But people saying no, of course not. No, he had potential, but he didn't live up to it. How can you be a legend without a Premier League trophy? Definitely not. Somebody sarcastically said yes, and Jesse Lingard as well. Or at least I hope that's sarcastic. It might be real. And then God help us all if that's real. Um, somebody's like he's Manch born and bred. He's homegrown academy lad. We'll never wish anything bad for him. Wish him the best wherever he goes. Thanks for all the good memories. But United legend, absolutely fuck no. Where's the standards? and there's Grace saying a legend for being shit. So that's a Twitter reply right there. You know how much likes you would get for that? Probably more than you would expect, Grace. Probably more than you would expect. Um, Twitter is like a wild, wild west out here. It's just absolutely crazy. Just searching because there was things. Fabrizio put out one of the pieces. Well, it was Henry Winter, but one of the things that we didn't read from Marcus Rashford says that he said that I'm halfway through my career. I don't expect my peak to be now. The best is yet to come, 100%. That's my mentality. Well, I think you're a little bit more than halfway, Marcus. Halfway at 27. You're not going to play till you're like 40. Maybe you will, but I don't know at what level you're going to play unless you will end up going to the MLS, and then you can play till you're 40. So Ray's here. Hi everyone. How we doing, Reds? We're good. We're just talking about Marcus Rashford confirming that he's leaving Manchester United. He didn't say when, but we're all thinking that it's probably going to be in January, and we've been talking pretty much about Rashford and players of the team, you know, how we need team players, and we talked a little bit about Amad Diallo, of how he's getting a new contract and that's almost done, minor details. So yeah. Line says unfortunately Rashford couldn't even make it to cult legend like Forlan. Well, yeah, I mean he hasn't achieved anything of significance to be considered a legend, so there's no way. Which is why I said it's just a stupid thing. And that's sometimes what you get on social media, because they clearly obviously posted that because it's a hot topic and it's going to get reaction, and they just want interaction because they get money. For the more interactions they get, they get paid more money. So that's why they put that. But um, Ruben. Somebody here made a good point, saying Ruben made a bold statement by dropping Rashford from the derby, and just 48 hours later, Rashford responds by expressing his desire for a new challenge. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he was dropped from the squad for a derby, but I do think that the club has somebody has gone there and told him the manager doesn't want you, and the club is going to look to sell you. And I think that's why that he's come out today and said what he said. Also, his people definitely 100% told him to go and get out, and go do this talking, put yourself on the market, basically make yourself, let it known that you're available, help the club probably get some offers. We need to get you back on track. Your brand suffering, stuff like that. So. He's saying we're all devastated, right? Somehow I don't believe that, though. Somehow I don't believe that, Grace. Possibly get the cold status like Taibbi. Ray says I am 60, my best is yet to come. Well, that's a good attitude to have, though. That's a good attitude to have. I wish I felt like that at 30, but I don't know. And now I feel like things are going downhill. I was joking my friends, because they're younger than me. And I tell them, and I'm like, listen, I was like, you got 23 and 24. 23 is the year of Michael Jordan, your age. That's your Jordan year, and 24 is your Kobe year. That's your Kobe year. After those 2 years, it all starts going downhill. And they look at me like, in all seriousness, don't say that. I'm telling you. But no, we're just messing around, right? John O'Shea and Wes Brown, a legend. I mean, I consider them more legends than Marcus Rashford. Nobody's supposed to see that part of the screen. So, Richard says, I am going back to bed. This is only the second day I've been out of bed in 2 weeks. Oh yeah. How you feeling, Richard? By the way, I forgot that you were sick. Yeah, are you feeling better in any way? Obviously, you're still a little bit under the weather, but appreciate you joining us and getting out of bed to come join in the show, even though you haven't been up to it. But thank you for coming, Richard, and hopefully you get back to 100% very soon. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Yeah. Listen, we're on the back end of the show. So basically what happened is we've been working a lot of hours. Things have sort of slowed down on the job, so we've cut the hours down. So now I'm doing what would be my normal hours. So I actually am able to do a show like today and yesterday at the times that we did them because I get home in time. These things are subject to change. I don't know if we'll be able to do one Thursday, because we have to wait and see. But we'll see how it goes. And if we can, then I'll be live after the match. If not, then I won't be. But I'll keep you guys posted about that for sure. Lion says, I read that we're finally setting up a South American scout network. It's about time. We need to find the next Clubberson. Well, we need it because, one, I don't understand how we don't have one, and why we haven't had one. And two, like, there's obviously a good amount of talent that comes from there. And then three, what usually happens is, like, you can get those players for dirt cheap, and they will become either good or very exceptional talents, and you can develop them into it if they're young enough. And we miss out on that, and they end up at a team where they then develop, and then that team wants 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 million for that player. Where we can just literally cut out the middlemen and have them come straight to us and make them the superstar. Cleberson was a joke, by the way. I know that. We obviously don't want the next Cleberson. A lot of these. Oh, so 2 hours ago, United are moving forward with their interest in Zver Naipan and could look to wrap up a deal in January. Well, the thing about Naipan is that I think, if I'm not mistaken, their season is over in January or something like that. Like, they're not playing. So he can actually make a move in January. His agent is actually going to go in the beginning of January if he hasn't started already. And he's basically going to go around Europe to try and find out what is the best possible option for his player to move to. I very much want United to get this kid. I think he's a very good, promising young talent. And I'll be highly excited if we can get him in January and bring him in. And I don't think he would necessarily be pushing for, the first team, but throw him into the under 21s or something, and we'll see him in a year or two. I'll be fine with that too, just as long as we get him. Naipan is going to cost a packet. No. If by packet you mean a lot, no. If you mean packet by cheap, then yes. He shouldn't be that much. He shouldn't be that much. I don't think he has a lot left on his contract. They don't have necessarily money like that, so they're not gonna be asking for a ridiculous amount of money. Um, so yeah. Uh, what else do we have? See if I find anything else. In the midst of all this Rashford stuff, it just got drowned in. So the Old Trafford Task Force, which is the task force that is in charge of determining what they're going to do with Old Trafford and if we're going to build a new stadium or not. This has come from Stephen Railston, saying the Old Trafford Task Force have held a final meeting. Omar Barada attended the virtual meeting earlier today and will report back. The decision on whether to revamp or rebuild the stadium is set to come in the summer of 2025. So we'll find out what happens to Old Trafford um in the summer, I guess. So, and Simon Stone also reported this as well. And we didn't even mention that Alejandro Garnacho, by the way, he won the Puskas Award for the bicycle kick against Everton. So, at least on that positive note, we can congratulate him for that. Absolutely brilliant goal. And I wish we could get kind of that Garnacho back, and I think we can. But one of the other things that we didn't speak about is obviously Leak Gate. If you're not aware of Leakgate. Leakgate is the whole controversy that's been going around in the fan base that players have been accused of leaking lineups to people on social media that they have a certain relationship with. Not a sexual one, but just like they communicate with each other on X or whatever shit like that. Uh, and so they these accounts were getting attacked because they were like, "Oh, you speak to Garnacho, this and this and this and this." Messages were leaked apparently from group chats and shit like that. People were getting exposed, which evidently led to apparently was messages between one account and Garnacho's brother. People were saying it was Garnacho's brother. People were saying it was Garnacho. Then the day after, some other people may have been paid or whatever came out and was saying that it was actually Ahmad and not Garnacho, and it turned into a whole fucking just disaster shitstorm. So pretty much, what has been said on that today is Chris Wheeler has said Garnacho and Ahmad are very angry over the allegations of leaking that they wanted to speak out in public after the Europa League win over Victoria, because that's when this whole thing was pretty much going down in the Czech Republic last week, but they were told not to do so because it wouldn't they were basically like told like they they don't think that that's a good idea, so just don't say anything. But apparently they're very pissed off. I can understand that, especially if they're not doing it. Um, I would be pissed too if I'm accused of something of doing something like that and I'm not doing it. So, um, apparently people know who it is, but nobody could say who it is. But then apparently the club doesn't know who it is, and they launched an investigation. So I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of this. I hope they do somehow. Um, Apparently they interviewed some players the other day. I don't know if they got anything out of that, but the one that was leaked by Samuel Luckhurst, the Manchester Derby, was not a player, and it was not like a staff member. That one came from an agency or a player's agent, or an agent of some sort. That was done to deliberately try and hurt Manchester United. That was done to deliberately aid in having us lose the derby. That was exposed 15 hours before. The player ones, the ones that have been accused by players, it was never the full team, and it was only ever like 2 to 3 hours before the match. Now some people don't want it to happen at all, and I get it, but at least the ones from the players, they would only give like two or three players at most. They would never give the full team. They would never give it out, hours and hours in advance. They would give it like 2 hours before the match, which is literally going to have no impact. But the one that Samuel Luckhurst put out right before the Manchester Derby, that didn't come from a player, and it didn't come from a family member of a player, and it didn't come from a staff of Manchester United. It came from an agency. I don't know how. Nobody knows how the agency got it. There's a way that they got it, and you would have to get to the bottom of that. But that's who leaked that, and they did it basically as a big fuck you to Manchester United. So whatever it was that we did to them, they wanted to, hit back out at us. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe we'll get an update eventually about that if more progress. Now, before all this whole thing of Marcus Rashford coming out and saying that he's leaving Manchester United, it was reported earlier in the morning that Saudi Arabian side Al Ittihad, or as Grace called them, Al Shittihad, have been put on alert about Marcus Rashford's availability. So maybe he goes to Saudi Arabia. The way he's talking, I don't see him going to Saudi Arabia, because he's saying my peak isn't at 27. I'm only halfway through my career. I think a move to Saudi Arabia, even though somebody like Ivan Toney and stuff like that have gone there, I don't think that's of his best interest. Also, you go to Saudi Arabia. I'm trying to look at this from like his people's perspective. Saudi Arabia ain't getting it ain't getting you no recognition. It ain't getting you no PR. You're not pushing brand Marcus Rashford in Saudi Arabia, because people aren't talking about the Saudi Arabian League, and people aren't watching the Saudi Arabian League. I mean, they only watch it to watch what Ronaldo does. Otherwise, nobody's watching, what's going on there. So I don't think he'll go there unless he just wants to pay. Gray's saying that's Benzema's team. It absolutely is. Um, unless he just wants to cash in. Because that's really all I can. That's the only thing I can see any player going there is obviously it's the payday that you get. You're not going to get that money anywhere else. So maybe there's a small chance, because obviously he's on 375 a week, and if he wants that pay or more, because what if they offer him 500K a week? Maybe he'll be tempted to go. But from his statements, and if he's telling the truth, he says he loves football. That's his life since he was a kid. He said his peak is not now, and he's in the middle of his career. So when I read those statements, then Saudi Arabia is off the table for me. If those are true, if they're just pure PR statements, just to make to the public, they're not actually 100% truthful, then he'll take a payday at Saudi Arabia, and he'll be willing to do so. So let's see what happens. But I think January, it has to be done. So, and on the Ahmad contract, because this came out earlier in the day, just a little bit more details into that is United are close to agreeing a new long-term contract with Ahmad. It is expected to be announced before the end of the year, and all parties are very happy. So, very, very happy, very, very excited about that. Can't wait for the announcement on that. Fully deserved. And, yeah, good for him. Good for him, and just keep it up and keep doing what you're doing. Also, there was suggestions that Marcus Rashford was leaking the Manchester United lineups. The Muppeteers quelled that and came out and said that Marcus Rashford leaking the Manchester United lineups are false. It is not him. Which has put out at least 3 players. So if it's not Rashford, and it ain't Garnacho, and it ain't Ahmad, that leaves about another 22 players or so. So we're getting there one by one somehow. And maybe we'll get there eventually, but and Laurie Whitwell is saying the team leaks has nothing to do with Alejandro Garnacho not being in the squad against Manchester City. So yeah, there was all of that. And people just putting up already farewell videos to Marcus Rashford. I mean, he hasn't left yet, but you get it. I have a question because I see something going on here. So, question for you guys in the chat. Would you take Eze as a replacement for Rashford? And do you think Eze is a better player than Marcus Rashford? Seriously, like, this is a serious question. I want serious answers. Would you take Eze as a replacement signing for Marcus Rashford? Or do you think Eze is not of the quality that we need and we need better than Eze? Because we're going to need another left-sided player now that Rashford goes. At some point, we're going to have to do it. Lion says no, which is fair enough. Because I see people making this point of Eze would be a brilliant signing. He's a creative left-sided winger, can also play cam, which suits Amorim's system. He's good at taking set pieces and corners. Maybe you could get him on a cut price due to Palace underperforming. He's prime proven at 26 years old, about to enter his prime. Lion says I would have taken Elise. Well, I would have taken Elise too, but that's in the past. We can't take Elise now. So now, no, there's Eze. That's what's on our table. We could take Eze, or we could go and try and look for somebody else. Grace says she would take Nketiah. Oh, no. No. Who is the other one that they sold? I think they sold him, right? Or is that Eddie Nketiah, the one that was like Bambi on ice with those weak legs? Is that Eddie Nketiah, or was that the other one that they had? They had another one. I remember one of the Arsenal fans calling him Bambi on ice. I can't remember his name. City goes down, we take Grealish. Oh boy. All right, chat. Chat's getting out of hand now. We don't. What are we gonna do with Grealish? We didn't have a problem with people drinking already. I mean, Rashford and a few other players have to follow him out of the door. Well, what other players would they be? I have a feeling one of them is Bruno Fernandes, but other players. I mean, for me, Rashford's going, so Rashford's going. Right, so he's gone. So we don't got to worry about him. He's going already. He said he's going. The club want to sell him, so he's going for sure. Luke Shaw's got to go. I feel like probably Mason Mount is gonna have to go because he just can't stay fit. Who else? Probably Lindelof, you would say, has to go. There's a real argument to keep Maguire right now. I feel like I would move Anthony on, but I don't know if they're gonna move Anthony on because I don't know if Amorim actually wants him or not. So there's a question over that. Would I take Foden if it would be possible? No, because I hate him. I hate him. I hate his attitude. I don't like him. I don't like him as a player. I don't like, yeah, I really dislike him. And he represents blue plastic, so I don't know why. It's something about when he was that thing with Foden and Greenwood in the very beginning when they got in trouble in the England camp. And it's just a lot of these, like, I don't know, it's like his attitude, the way he like holds himself. Like I don't know. He gives me like this bad vibe. I've never like liked him. Um, I know he's been a good talent. He's having a shit season this season, but um, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want. I don't know. Maybe it's just because he plays for Manchester City, but fucking. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm not really for shit like that. I mean, I know we took Robin van Persie and that worked out well. But I don't know. For me, at that time, I always looked down on Arsenal anyway. So it was like when we took Robin van Persie, I was like, nah, but we deserve Robin van Persie because like he's elite and you guys aren't, and like he should be on our team. But I'm not even fond of taking players from like the other big clubs. Like I don't really want Manchester City players. I don't want Liverpool players. I don't really want like Arsenal players per se. I mean, I would take Saka because I think he's a good character and he has good ability. Um, yeah, Grace doesn't drink. But at the same time, she says sell Ahmad and make Anthony captain, which makes me believe that she does drink. 100% the Glazers will do it for money. Well, hopefully not. So, um, but the Mirror has put out that the agent of AC Milan star Theo Hernandez has flown in for talks amid interest from Manchester United. Now, I don't know if this is true. The Mirror is, I mean, the Mirror ain't the Sun. So this is actually pretty huge, pretty big. We did get an update the other day of how, um, you know, the Italian league and the Spanish league are actually suffering for a little bit of money. Um, they can't afford certain high profile signings. Theo Hernandez is probably considered, if he's not the best left back in the world, he's one of the best left backs in the world. He would obviously go for a big price. If Manchester United somehow get Theo Hernandez, I'll throw a party. Because that's something that I wouldn't even imagine that we would be able to do. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, that you punches City scrubby dog. Um, but yeah, apparently that's what's just been put out right now is that the agent of AC Milan star Theo Hernandez has flown in for talks amid interest from Manchester United. So we're talking to the agent of Theo Hernandez right now. He's flown in to Manchester apparently, or in London, because that's where our office is. I don't even know where the office is anymore. But apparently he's flown in to hold talks with us. So I don't know what's gonna come out of these talks. But if we manage to pull off that signing, I mean it's from the Mirror. The Mirror is all right. I would like to know the journalist that put this out, though, because there are certain journalists that work for the Mirror that are actually credible, and then there's journalists that work for the Mirror that nobody's ever heard their damn name, and they ain't credible. So, it just says the Mirror put it out. Um, so I can't tell you who it is, but I guess we gotta wait and see. Maybe I'm waiting for one of these other guys to repost this. But nobody has reposted it because they might tag in the actual. They might tag in the actual journalist. If I could find the article, um, which I can't even find it, so I don't know where they made this statement. Because it's not on their Twitter, so they posted it somewhere else. Actually, let me see if I find it right now. See if I find it real. Um, uh, transfer news, latest. It's half hour. There's nothing here, so I don't know where they got that. I don't know where they got that from the Mirror, but I don't know where the Mirror has put that for them to get that. But I don't see it. So we have more breaking news though as well. Grace says Theo Hernandez would make a good backup to Diallo. What you're doing is exactly what them tabloids want. Eric, don't click on the article. Well, I only solely click on the article because I wanted to find the journalist. Because usually when they post something like the Mirror, for example, like like the aggregator accounts, because that was from an aggregator account posted that and said that the Mirror said that. Usually these aggregator accounts, when they post the news like that, they'll put the Mirror, but then they'll put the journalist. So like if it's like from a credible journalist like Lori Whitwell or something like that, like they'll put at the Mirror, but they'll put at Lori Whitwell. So you know that Lori Whitwell wrote this specific article for the Mirror. So it's like, yes, it is the Mirror, but the journalist writing it is actually a credible journalist. Whereas if you click on that article and it's just like some random guy you've never heard of, then you look at it and you're like, all right, that's probably a bunch of bullshit. So the only reason why I was looking for to click on the article was so I could see who the actual journalist is. Has anyone heard from Pep? He's gone awfully quiet since the loss. I hope that bald-headed Chucky is okay. I think they put him in jail. I think they put him in prison for having one win in 11 games. I think they locked him up, Grace. But this is also breaking news coming out right now. Manchester United have moved closer to signing Rosenborg midfielder Sver Naipan. United have intensified their pursuit ahead of a potential January move and have made progress on a deal. There is an increasing possibility that he will become Ruben Amorim's first signing. This is coming from Dean Jones Soccer. And this has just come out 3 minutes ago. And I say, bring it on. I want this kid at this club. I want him at this club. I will take him. I will take him 100%. Who's not good enough? Who's not good enough? My pawn? 17. Tell me who's not good enough. I wanna know. Seriously. Pep. Oh, Pep's not good enough. Yes, he said that he's not good enough. Pep has said that he's not good enough. So I want nobody to ever compare Pep Guardiola to Sir Alex Ferguson ever again. They should be. If you, not to get too political, but I've seen things going on in the UK where people are getting sent to jail for the tweets that they're putting out. I think that should apply if they're gonna do things like that. They should apply that to the fact that if anybody goes on Twitter and says that Pep Guardiola is better manager than Sir Alex Ferguson was, they should be put in jail for that. 100%. 100%. That should be a crime. That's not even a joke. It's not even a joke. But it is a joke. But no, yeah, seriously. Yeah, I mean, Pep literally said he's not good enough. My manager has never said that. So Alex Ferguson has never said that he's not good enough. So yeah. Well, listen, guys, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out of here. It was a very good show. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for carrying the conversation. Shout out to Grace Lyons, Richard, Ray, Lyle as well. Aventino earlier in here. Rajat came in here and told us to go get food. So that was good. Stephanie was in here earlier as well. Shout out to Stephanie. Very, very good. Shout out to Chiquinha, who was also in here and was new, first time chatter. Good to hear from them. Gave a couple of opinions. Very, very good. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. We'll see. I'll try and keep you guys updated on the next time we go live. Probably won't happen tomorrow, unless something major happens and we have to, and if I even can. But we'll have to see. So I'll keep you guys updated in the community tab. So look out for a community post somewhere. Or just if you want, once in a while, click on the channel and go into the community tab, and you'll see a post when I post something. If we don't go live tomorrow, be on the lookout for Thursday. I don't know how work is gonna go. I don't know if we're doing regular hours, we're gonna stay late. If we do regular hours, I'll be able to do a Red Devil recap. If we're staying late, I won't be able to do a Red Devil recap. I'll keep you guys updated one way or another. So yeah, thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you to everybody that got involved in the chat. Thank you to anybody that's new and subscribed. We greatly appreciate you. We will see you on the next one. Everybody have a good night. Stay safe. Enjoy yourselves. And we'll talk very, very soon. Good night.